Let's see. This is an actual trans non-binary teacher from Libs of TikTok. He does a celebratory dance because a student came out as non-binary. They're after your kids. One of my students just came out to me as non-binary. So making a big fuss about it. I wonder how much of a fuss, in class in front of the other students the teacher made. Because, I guess there's no way that some like awkward kid who wants attention and is insecure is going to be influenced by a teacher acting like that, celebrating like that, which seems to me like just insane, reckless narcissism. I mean, it's pretty clear at this point that social contagion is happening, right? How is that happening? It's shit like this. People who just don't give a shit. I mean, it's utter narcissism. A sane person will ask themselves, is it responsible for me to be conducting a social experiment on all of these children? A social experiment, the results of which we don't quite know. I mean, you can make an educated guess. You're going to end up screwing up and medicalizing a whole bunch of confused kids. Confused kids who get this kind of response when they do the new thing, the cool new thing. The thing that influencers on TikTok are telling them to do, and their teachers telling them to do it. They're getting attention now. Confused, insecure kids. Like, a teacher should be the first person to understand what's going on here, how confusing this can all be, how susceptible to peer pressure and social pressure kids are. Isn't this all obvious? Isn't this all obvious to all of us? Shouldn't it be obvious to every single fucking person who has ever wants a child, which is every adult? Shouldn't that just be clear? Shouldn't it be unnecessary to even have to comment on this because it shouldn't exist? So Martinio says the principal should be fired, and I agree. And so should this teacher. This is reckless craziness. This is a giant social experiment on a generation of children based on this bizarre abstract idea, this bizarre redefinition of the word gender, which just seems to have become a fad like 15 minutes ago. And now it's in apparently every fucking classroom? There's tampons in the bathrooms at military bases in Canada, and the soldiers are tearing off the tampon dispensers off the wall and getting rid of them, and they're being threatened to be punished because, no, this is Canada now. Now men use tampons in Canada, especially in the military. It's most important that it be in the military. The speed at which this lunacy, this mind virus is spreading is truly shocking. I mean, people are waking up to it. I mean, most of this was happening, in the shadows of, gender studies departments in universities for a long time. It was actually happening for decades, right? And it just burst out onto the scene, and it's just rushed out and infected everything. Everything. It's like mind Ebola, only like a million times more infectious. And sometimes you've just got to stop. They say you got to stop and smell the roses. Well, sometimes you've just got to stop and notice that the teacher is a fucking lunatic. And how did all this happen? Who allowed all this to happen? Well, sadly we did. We're all asleep. You don't expect the world to go completely fucking crazy over the course of a few years or even a decade. People get used to things being maybe not well run, but not insanely run. Just certifiable lunatics running everything, right? But there's always been an expectation that ultimately things would work out. Things, there was competent people somewhere along the line that would make things work. Suddenly, we are surrounded by absolute fucking lunatics. And the worst part is they're making decisions that will affect our lives. You've got Canada pouring 1 million people a year into the country. You've got Biden facilitating illegal immigration into the United States, actually demanding that places like Texas remove border barriers to prevent people from illegally going into the country. I guess it's like things fall apart slowly, 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 and then real fast, which in the Western world we're discovering. Anyway,